Hello, 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 and welcome in, everybody. My name is Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have a very special guest today. This is student minister Nuri Muhammad. How are you doing, brother minister?
Man, Brother Jeff, I am honored and privileged to be able to share space and time with you, my brother. So I was doing good before I got on the air, and now I'm doing even better.
Hey, this is a great thing to have you on here. I'm so privileged and honored to get a chance to have this conversation. I don't like to call these interviews anymore. I like to call these conversations and just for you to enlighten us with the wisdom that you're about to. So much so, I felt so privileged that I had to step up my dress game. I had Dr. Wesley Muhammad on here, and it was late at night, and I was like, I know there's no way at 8 o'clock at night Dr. Wesley's gonna wear a suit, and sure enough, he did. So I figured if he did it, I knew you would. So I had to step it up just for you.
Well, it's out of respect, and in particular, a lot of people don't understand. There's even a science behind the suit and the bow tie.
Mm,
Um, as a general rule, anytime you see someone in a suit and a bow tie, they're either doing one or two things. Either they're serving or they are in a wedding, marrying
mm,
someone. So, in that context, we wear the suit and the bow tie because we are the servants of God and the servants of our people. So, we want to present ourselves to our people as their servant. And
mm,
then, of course, the same vows that a bride and groom takes to one another, we believe from the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we should have that same kind of spirit and take those same vows when it comes to the mission of the resurrection, restoration, and redemption of our people. So, we look like grooms and servants. And of course, too, the bow tie also is a part of our wardrobe.
mhm.
Wardrobe.
I called it. I definitely
Yes,
called that.
whenever you are in guerrilla warfare and you have to establish a beachhead behind enemy lines, you have to dress like the dominant figure of that environment if you want to camouflage and maneuver without being observed as easy. So they wear suits, so we wear suits, and then
Mm,
two, we generally wear a bow tie and it has a clip on it because if we in a physical conflict, if I had my tie on a certain way, someone could reach behind it, pull it, and turn my tie into a noose.
mm.
But if you reach for this bow tie, you'll walk away with a handful of bow tie and a mouthful of fist. So
I love it.
yeah, that's just part of it. But the big thing is it's out of our respect for the platform that God has blessed you with, and out of respect for your audience. And we want our people to know we serve them, and we are here through rich or poor, better or worse, in sickness and in health till death do us part.
I love that. I love that. Once again, we're talking to brother Nuri Muhammad. He is about to, if you've never heard this man speak, you are in for a treat tonight. Just be sure to share and hit the like button because it is going to be a great thing. Now, brother Nuri, before we get started, now we're going to have a lot of relationship talk. Before we get into that, I want to ask you, how did just from what I've read a lot, listened to a lot of your interviews, read some of the articles about you, read your bio. How did kind of a young street hustler from the streets of Indianapolis, Indiana, become student minister Nuri Muhammad?
Oh man, brother Jeff, it was accidentally on purpose. But you know how we open up our conversation. What had happened was,
Yeah.
to make a short, what had happened was, I was young, meddling in the streets, and I didn't like the way I felt hustling. I felt the love in me for what I should love and really my own humanity dying as I was killing my people. So I didn't like the way I felt, so I wanted to quit, and I did. And the only thing that I knew to get right is to go to church. So I started going to church with one of my associates in the neighborhood, and his father was an assistant pastor. and they had me going to everything. I was Bible studying, 2 services on Sunday. What I mean, I was doing it all. I was at every meeting, but I still didn't feel like I was I had the strength to resist the pull of the streets. And anybody that's ever been hustling on any level where they were getting any real money, you know, it's just as hard to stop selling as it is to stop using. One's addicted to the drug, the other's addicted to the money and what the money can do for you when you get it. So, you know, I was an addict and didn't know it. So at church, I didn't feel that pull to pull me away from the inclination of wrongdoing again. And my girlfriend at the time, father, was a supporter of the nation, had a lot of lectures and books. She started reading and studying, had already been listening to the minister ever since she was 4. We were only 16. And she laid 2 lectures by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in a book called Message to the Black Man, rocked my world. And I said, this is how I've been believing all of my life. I just didn't know how to say it like this. But from the outside looking in, you know, this looked way too strict for me. I was like, oh man, I think I'll join, but I'm wait till I'm about 73. Wait till I get a little, and then I made a pledge to myself as a teenager. I said, if you can prove it to be wrong, you'll leave it alone. But if you can't prove it wrong, you'll submit yourself to it 100%. So I was spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day studying, learning the teachings, but also trying to see if I could find something wrong with it. And my little argument that I would take 8 hours for 5 days straight, I bring it to one of the brothers who wasn't even in leadership, lay out my whole exegesis of why this can't be. And in 5 minutes, they shut me down. And so, you know, as time went on, I knew that I couldn't prove it to be wrong. And I knew that the scales had been removed from my eyes, and I was becoming a resurrected man and operating in what I felt like I had power. So I knew it was the truth and submitted to it. And I guess because I studied so much, Brother Jeff, that when we had our meetings that we could talk, my statements had substance to it. So people were always pushing to put that brother on the rostrum. And I told him, man, I ain't come here to be on the rostrum. I told him, I said, I don't want to be in no leadership and I don't want to be in no ministry. I came to be a soldier. And I told him, I said, y'all never catch me in no dress shoes. I said, every time you see me, I'm going to be in some soldiering boots. I want to be a soldier. And they's like, well, you can be a soldier too. And they put me on the rostrum. I spoke. People were standing and clapping. I thought they just was being nice to this little teenage 17-year-old little brother that just joined the Mosque. Lo and behold, they were really sincere, clapping and applauding. And they end up keeping me up there. And I end up becoming, as a teenager, an assistant minister. And I end up being made the minister here by the minister when I was the interim minister before I even turned 21.
Wow.
And we end up in about 6 months, we doubled in ranks from me when I was the interim minister. So I became the minister. And we were the most outstanding study group, most outstanding mosque, most improved mosque, all kind of accolades. But that's you know, in a nutshell, that's how this became a reality in my life. It wasn't something that I was looking for. I wouldn't put myself in the category of Jonah in the belly of the fish. It wasn't on that level, but I didn't want the responsibility. Nor that I felt like it's insincere. If you want to be in leadership, something's wrong with you. You should want to be a servant. And if it happens, it happens. So it happened.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story, Brother Nuri. And it's a good thing. I know the great people of Indianapolis are happy that you're there, and people across this country and across the world are happy that you're in the position that you are now in. But we are here tonight to talk about black love and black relationships. And you talked about
Yeah.
in that story about how at 16 years old there was a your then girlfriend
Yeah.
introduced you to the nation, and for some who don't know, that then girlfriend ended up becoming your lovely wife. And so you have so from 16 to now, you have a pretty good understanding of black love and black relationships. Brother Nuri, when you hear the words black and love together, what does that mean? What if somebody says that, what's kind is that vision to you?
Man, that is a very good question. And, of course, what a blessing it is to be able to break that rule. And me and my wife, we were together when we were 14 years old in junior high school.
Wow.
So, she remembered the actual date that we start calling each other girlfriends and boyfriends. And I guess that meant that she had some awareness in her mind, consciousness that we was going to make it. But we, my then girlfriend became my now wife. But I will say this: don't try that at home. Don't you try that, little young brother and little young sister. There's a website and an organization. I don't know the name of the organization, but their website is called abstinence.com. And it's a website and an organization that tries to promote young people keeping their discipline sexually and keeping their virtue, and wait until they get married before they start interacting with the opposite sex on a physical level. I thought that's a good site, but on it there's a study that they did where they found that almost 99% of all high school sweethearts never make it to being husbands and wives. So that's not, it happened. We was able to crack into that little 1%.
1%.
And I'm thankful for that, but it's not something you should try at home. Black, when most people see the term black, unconsciously we see it in a negative light. Mm-hmm. And that's because of the way that it's been used in language. If you look in the dictionary under the term black, there's 120 definitions. All of them are negative. But you look in the dictionary under the word white, there's 134 definitions, and almost all of them are positive: pure, clean, innocent, holy. But you go to black, as in, you and my brother, y'all were on the line. If y'all wouldn't have made it, y'all would have been blackballed. Look at that. Whenever you're having bad luck, you're behind the 8 ball, the black ball, the last ball to go in. The stock market crashed. It was called Black Monday. You're telling a little bitty lie, it's a little white lie, but you're telling a deliberate lie, it's a black lie. Think of so the math of black as a general statement has a negative connotation to it. The conscious community, a lot of times we use black, and it only is a description of skin color. But black is not just color. Black is also consciousness, and it's also a connection to the Creator. So when I think in terms of black, period, I think color, consciousness, and connection to Creator. Black love is that kind of love that grows out of the color of your spouse, the same as yours. Conscious, meaning you care about your people and the rise of your people, and you have a connection to the Creator in the sense that you are moral and you are trying to please God. That's my little take on what black love means to me whenever I hear the statement.
Awesome, brother Muhammad. That is a great way to put it, and that's a great way to start, because we're talking about black love and black relationships, and you gave a keynote at the All Black National Convention this year, and you broke down some statistics. One of those statistics was a long time ago that it would be 90% of black marriages, and they in almost 100% of those, 90% of black marriages would last. And those statistics, it went to from 90% of black on black marriages to 40%. Just can you break down some of that, and what do you think are some of those the causes to the lack of black marriages that take place now?
Well, of course it did help that it was against the law to marry white women
Yes,
as
that's
black
very
men.
true.
It
That's
did
very
help.
true.
It did help that we were being lynched from looking under a white woman's dress while it hung on a clothesline. But there was a 2015 McKinley Irving family law study where they went and looked at 1867, 2 years up from slavery, so-called Emancipation Proclamation. Whole nother show though, but
Yeah,
for that, because emancipate doesn't mean free. That's why they didn't call it the freedom of slave. The word emancipate comes from the Latin word emancipere, which means to free from the hand, but not from the control. So once you got certain commands installed into the psyche of a people, you don't have to regulate their hands and their feet anymore, because every voluntary act of the human body must first start off as a thought. And then the thought is what encourages the body to engage in the appropriate muscular activity that matches the nature of itself. So once the mind is locked up, you don't have to worry about the hands and the feet, because the hands don't move if the mind don't tell it. The feet don't kick if the mind doesn't tell it, etc. But in 1867, they found that out of eligible adults, black adults that could be married, 90% of all black adults were married to a black man or a black woman, and they had a near 100% success ratio. 2015, there was only 40% of black adults that could be married actually being married, and they have a 75% divorce rate. So if you've got 40%, that's 4 out of 10. And if you got a 75% divorce rate on top of that 4, that means for every 3 couples or 4 couples you see, 3 of them are not going to make it. So only 1 out of 10 will survive to meet the word that they gave, till death do us part.
Wow.
So part of it, of course, was that, number one, we had to unite with each other in order to survive. And it was against the law for us to even look at a white woman. You could literally not just be incarcerated, you could be lynched for a crime called reckless eyeballing.
Wow.
And when you were charged with reckless eyeballing, the slave master's children would come and grab you and lynch you for looking at a white woman too long. So part of it, that fact that we were connected to with our own woman as the only option and our own man as the only option. And we were not, how can I say this? We were in Africa and we had become strong. We was there living and conquering the jungle for 50,000 years. And we inherited a certain amount of resilience that allowed us to be able to endure the suffering of slavery. Slavery imposed a whole nother level of treachery on us. And then the next generations, they were able to have that genetic resilience to be able to survive in the recent years up from slavery. But now it appears as though that resilience, that strength, that fortitude that we once had is now beginning to wear off, and we're not as strong as we used to be. So I don't know how to say it, but we punk out too much. We punk out too much on everything, including marriage itself. So we have that pattern now of giving in when struggle shows up. We have the most damnable disease that's killing black people is not high blood pressure, diabetes, or AIDS or cancer. It's excusitis. And unfortunately, Brother Jeff, is even integrated and transferred over into the category of black love. Then when we put our word out there, because we were still somewhat connected to the genetic memory of our God-centered African culture, where we said, my word is bond and bond is life. And I shall give my life before my word shall fail. So when we gave our word that I will be your husband and I will be your wife through richer or poor, better or worse, in sickness and in health, till death do us part, our word was bond. But now, with excuse-itis, with this high level of punking out on everything, with the loss of resilience, our word is not bond no more. Our word has become blonde. And blonde is weak, recessive. So we got to get back and return to our core system of values, where we knew that the family unit was really our power base. And when we knew it, we behaved like it, and we executed, invented, and built civilization. Now today, we don't see it like that, and we are the subject of being the number one consumers, but not producers. We are employees, but not employers. We work somewhere, but we own very little of anything. We have $1.3 trillion in income, but still only have 1% of the wealth of this country. That's bass accurate, brother Jeff. You didn't catch that. You didn't catch that.
I caught it. Trust me, I did. I definitely did. You're a lot more poetic with your words than I am, but I definitely caught it for sure. Once again, we're talking to student minister, Brother Nuri Muhammad. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, because we are talking about Black love and Black relationships. Now, Brother Nuri, you talked about love, not your word not being bond, but being blonde. And what that made me think of was something that you spoke about during your keynote about this thing that you called Beckery. If you could, please explain to the audience what exactly is Beckery and what do you think that's doing to our community?
Wow. Well, you know what? Anybody that remembers the song Lemonade by Beyonce, when she talked about Becky with the good hair, you know, it sounded like she was talking about a white girl sliding in and on her man. So Beckery, I was making a joke, you know, I was joking but serious about how every so often they present to the ICD-9 book, which is a book of symptoms, to determine what a new condition is going to be that they're going to be able to diagnose and treat and prescribe, whatever. And I said I wanted to introduce a new condition to the book, since they're doing it. It's called Beckery. What is Beckery? Beckery is the mental and the psychological mental and psychological castration of a Black man as a direct result of a long-term relationship with a white woman.
Ooh.
And
now, Brother Nuri, you're not gonna make a lot of friends saying stuff like that, but continue.
but if we all you have to do, see, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said, out of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward the researcher. Scripturally, look at the story of Samson and Delilah. Delilah was a Philistine and Samson was a Black man. He had locks, and they had tried to defeat this man all the years that he was winning as a warrior. They sent whole armies after him, couldn't break him, couldn't beat him. And so their last trick was to send a Philistine woman in to see if she can get close to him and break him. Philistine people are Caucasian. Next thing you know, you start hearing about Samson's locks being cut off and he had lost his strength. And ask any Black woman, can they spot a Black man that's with a white woman, even if the white woman's not present? And I guarantee you they'll tell you yes. You know why? Because as a general rule, they're a little softer, a little more punctified. They're not as masculine as they should be or would be if they was with that queen. So we were breaking it down, showing that, you know, whenever Napoleon was hired in the mid 1800s, he was hired by the King of England and other European rulers to go into Africa and destroy all of the images of Black excellence. So he was getting rid of any image of the disciples that were black, Jesus black, Mary black, prophets that were black, angels that were black, and any signs of black excellence. And one of the things that he did was when he found that great pyramid Giza in Egypt, which is 451 feet tall and 451 feet deep, covering 13 and a half acres of land made of 1 million stones of gold, granite, and marble, stacked mathematically precise, east to west, north to south, up in the air, down into the earth. And we built it without John Deere or Caterpillar. We didn't even have a bulldozer. It was the power of the mind. Telepathy did. That's how powerful we were. So after he went into the pyramids, he noticed that the great images of what would be considered the gods, Osiris, Alafun, the great gods, Asa. Every time they seen Osiris, Isis was with him. Every time they seen Asa, Aset was with him. Every time they seen the great god male, Alafun, Ilida was right by our side. So when you go into the pyramid now, you can still see Alafun, you can still see Osa, you can still see Osiris, but next to them, somebody scraped away the image. And that image that they scraped away was them being with that black queen. Why? Napoleon knew that he could not allow a message to be sent down the line of time that not behind, but beside every strong black man has always been a strong black woman. So we want to try to, he was trying to start the disease of Beckery way back then. Here we are in 2021 and it's become full blown.
Once again, we're talking to Brother Nuri Muhammad. If you haven't noticed by now, the man's on fire, and we're just getting started. Now, Brother Nuri, I heard, there was a saying that I heard once. I first heard it from Brother Ben X, and it was from Minister Louis Farrakhan. He said, romance without finance is a nuisance. And I heard you say the same thing. And I was like, my mind was blown when I had first heard it. And then it was blown even more when I heard it the second time. For our audience, what does that mean? And why is that so important?
Yeah, well, that's one of them old sayings. I call it from the gospel of Big Mama. You know, we might have learned it from the minister, but it's an old saying that we had. And you know, when I say the gospel of Big Mama, people know what I'm talking about. It's some stuff that Big Mama said that's just as true of what Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John said. Birds of a feather
flock together.
That's not the Bible. That's Big Mama. You lie down with dogs, you're going to get up with fleas. A family that prays together
stays together.
Wise man learn from others' mistakes. Fools learn from their own. You know, a woman will either make you or break you. That's not Quran. That's Big Mama that said that. So it's some stuff Big Mama didn't put out, you know, and one of them was romance without finance is a nuisance. Why is it? Because the nature of a woman is to put demands on the nature of a man, and the nature of a man is to put demands on the nature of the woman. And when you unpack the variables of the scriptures of the Old Testament, New Testament, or the Holy Quran, no matter which one you look at, it says by nature, man is maintainer, protector, provider, and woman by nature is help meet, comfort, and consoler to her man. So anytime that you have romance and there's no finance, how can you maintain? How can you provide? And if you've got maintain, protect, and provide as the three universal codes that you find in the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Holy Quran as the nature and natural function of a man, then at best, all they can do is protect, but he's missing the two other primary ingredients if he doesn't have any finance, because without finance, you cannot provide. Without finance, you cannot maintain. So it becomes a nuisance because it is the nature of a woman to put a demand on the nature of her man. and she's going to want and desire, not because she is, as they say, high maintenance or whatever, but it's the nature of a female. She wants to be made secure, and she becomes secure when that man is a maintainer, protector, and a provider. And without finance, without money, you're not going to be able to fulfill maintenance and provision. So it becomes a nuisance. That's where the nuisance becomes. It wasn't a saying that men came up with. This was a saying that came from women based upon life experience. I then got connected to a man. He don't have no money, no know-how, no will. He's non-productive. Therefore, he's a nuisance. And no woman wants to be with a full-grown boy. Every woman wants to be with a man. And when you put a diamond on the finger of a woman, she's excited, but the real thing she wants more than a diamond on her hand is to be holding hands with a man that has become a diamond among men. And you can't be a diamond among men unless you know how to hunt, unless you are a go-getter, unless you know how to go out and conquer matter, energy, space, and time, and bring back material reward to build a legacy for your family.
Wow, absolutely, absolutely, Brother Muhammad. That was the perfect definition to that very, very great saying by Big Mama. Now, Brother Muhammad, now I want to, but what about this? I want to pose to you this, though. There are a lot of women who say that they are independent, who say, what do you say to those women like, I can make my own money. I may not need a man. I can do this. There's a lot of independent women out there to that and say like, hey, I don't always need a man to be my best. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it is true. And it is a survival mechanism at this point. And I would be crazy to tell a woman, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Just wait around for you to meet a good man. As soon as you meet the good man, you can start having the things in life that you desire. But until then, just sit around and be poor, broke, hungry, naked, out of doors with nothing, doing nothing, just waiting on a man. No, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the woman, the black woman in particular, should be free to do anything that her heart desires, and she can do anything in the way of righteousness without violating her nature that a man can do. So it's nothing wrong with you being like that and being productive. In Islam, whenever a man marries a woman, it is customary that the man brings a gift of something monetary, either cash or something that has a cash value, and gives that to his new wife as what they call a dowry. And in Islam, whenever you marry a woman, what's hers remains hers. You don't get none of it. But what's yours becomes hers too. So it's nothing wrong with you having that spirit. It's just whenever you are in that zone and it's out of a compensation for the non-productive man that you're with. And I think that you would be wise as a woman if you know that romance without finance is going to become a nuisance. If that man doesn't have the skill set to go out and maintain, protect, and provide, then he's not worthy of becoming your husband yet until he gets to that status. If not, you're going to be married to a man, but you're going to be treating him in your mind. You will lose respect for him, and it's gonna really upset the balance of the home, because the language of a man is honor, and the language of a woman is security. She wants to feel secure emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially. She wants to feel secure. But the nature of a man is honor. And when that man is a non-productive man, he won't receive honor from his mate. And at a certain point, it's going to serve as a means of weakening the man even more. And he's not going to be loyal to you. He's going to be gone. So no, sisters, I understand. It is an unfortunate circumstance, and it's not by accident; it's by design. I encourage all of the viewers to Google the Willie Lynch letter and Google the "Let Us Make a Slave" document that comes from that letter of Willie Lynch, and look at the particular chapter or section on the breaking of the nigger female. And when you look at what he says, in paraphrasing, that make her to be independent of her man. By doing so, you will put her into, listen to this, he said, a frozen psychological state.
Wow.
Where she will begin to train her offspring to be as you would make them if you were their parent. Talking about slave masters. So check it out. They know that that's not the nature of things. The woman is not born and created by God to handle an undue amount of stress. And the minute that you become so independent that you have to become maintainer, protector, provider, and comfort, and consoler, and homemaker, and mother. When you have to do all of that, you are putting yourself under too much stress and pressure. You're weighing other than your own self psychologically. It's only a matter of time before it destroys you health-wise and emotionally. So it's not a good system, but I understand it for survival. Be as you have to be, but encourage that man to be as he should be. And when he gets to that point where he is that hunter and that go-getter, and he is able to do for you and your family, then let that stress go and let him carry that burden. Smile and live a stress-free existence, because you got a good man that knows how to take care of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Once again, we're talking to Brother Nuri Muhammad. And now, Brother Muhammad, you have a series of books. Now, one of those books is titled Before I Say I Do. What are some of the things that you suggest to flourishing couples that are dating that you would advise, some of the things they should think about or maybe even consider before they say I do?
Well, that's a very good question. And this book is Before You Say I Do. This book is really designed to assist really a black man and a black woman on proper mate selection. If you notice, rich white people always marry rich white people.
It's very true.
And the reason that you see families marrying similar families among the Asians, the Jews, and Caucasians is because they are trying to keep a certain breed or a certain species of their people alive. So they are very selective. It's the same as it is with the dogs, the horses. You don't mate different breeds of dogs with one another. You don't mate different kinds of horses. You have a horse that is for carrying a wagon or one that's a race stallion. You marry stallions. You put stallions with stallions. So mate selection, is so important. In fact, I'm gonna step out of here and say this, Brother Jeff. Outside of belief in God, choosing the right mate is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life.
Wow.
Because when you choose a mate, either that mate will inspire you to grow into your greatness, or they'll confine you to complacency. They'll either be your other half, or they'll make you half of yourself. The minister said this one time. He said, a good mate brings out the best in you and makes you more youthful. And a bad mate brings out the worst in you and causes you to age prematurely. So choosing a mate is the most important decision other than belief in God you ever going to make. Why? That's why. So, phase one, remember, brothers and sisters, what is marriage called? It's called holy matrimony. It's called a sacred union, or in some writings, they call marriage a covenant connection. Covenant connection, sacred union, and holy matrimony. These are all spiritual terms. So when you are going to choose a mate, you should be looking more at spiritual and mental characteristics than you are looking at physical characteristics. And one of the things that we learned is that, see, before we were kidnapped and Caucasianized and Westernized, there was no such thing as dating among Black people.
I didn't know that.
We courted. We courted one another. Even, have you ever seen The Godfather?
I have.
You do know, we don't have time to go into it, but the Spanish or the Italians, the Italians adopted many of the customs of the Moors, which were African Muslims that conquered Spain and went into Italy. So a lot of their habits that you see among the Italians are very similar to Muslims. We greet each other cheek to cheek. They greet each other cheek to cheek. They have brotherhood. They don't discuss certain things at the dinner table. It's about family. But you remember in The Godfather that when Michael was in Sicily and he was interested in a female, they went out walking with each other. But when the camera panned up, behind them, 100 feet away, was that little girl's whole family was out there. It was about 15 deep. They learned that from our African customs. We did not believe that we should ever engage in physical contact with one another until we were married, and that any time that we were even alone with the opposite sex, we would have a chaperone with us to make sure that we didn't get too excited, too physically attracted to one another, and then end up engaging in premarital sex. Sex, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, has a blinding quality to it. It floods the brain with so many chemicals, the serotonin, the endorphins, the adrenaline, and the dopamine that the brain is flooded with being sexually active is so strong that it begins to really corrupt the prefrontal cortex, which is the place in the brain that deals with judgment. So once the judgment centers of the brain have become, for the lack of a better word, distracted and distorted, now you can't even see the negative spiritual or psychological, mental, or personality traits anymore because you're too infatuated with the physical. So we, in picking that mate, say don't date, court. Dating is just two people involved with each other and whatever happens, happens. But courting is when two people are only communicating with each other because in their mind they have at some point finding someone that they're going to marry, and they're not going to be physical till that point. I know this sounds rough and strict.
It's real rough and strict.
You think about, I think you think about people talking about how hard it was to have Steve Harvey put out something called a 90-day rule. Oh Lord, how we? No, but if you really want to be serious and you want to have what you're looking for, which is that happily ever after, you got to do it right. You can't take the wrong road and expect to end up in the right place. That's the way it goes. So that became an issue. And what happened, Brother Jeff, is that talking to people all over the country, we were being invited to speak by all different kinds of people at different sets. But almost always the freedom fighters, the revolutionaries, the activists that brought us in, they always had domestic or relationship problems. And I said, man, do you know your home is supposed to be your spiritual recharge center?
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be the place that you unplug from this wicked white supremacist world, and you can come home, let your guard down, and come to an environment where you can plug into a pure source of love and extract peace and power from your home. But man, if a man or a woman is out fighting for their people, fighting to make a living, and then they come home and they got to fight again, how are they ever going to have the energy on either side to perform well for freeing the people, well for building the business, or well for each other as husbands, fathers, and mothers and fathers? So I kind of really was tired of having these little sidebar meetings all the time. So I said, let me see if I can come up with something that can help stop this a little bit and help it. And I did Before You Say I Do, and then we kept going, and then everybody said, well, I'm already married, I still want to talk to you. I was like, I got to do another After You Say I Do. So now I got both, before and after you say I do, and I just say, look, take 2 of these and call me in the morning.
Like an aspirin.
Like old doctors used to say when they going door to door with them little leather bags, I say, take 2 of these. So far, we haven't had anybody really call back because they've been pretty good guides in helping mate selection, and then really helping to practice what I call courtship after marriage, which is also a system that keeps things going and alive. That's in the After You Say I Do book.
That's awesome. You can find both of Dr. Nuri, of Brother Nuri, not Doctor, Brother Nuri Muhammad's books. You sound like a doctor. That's why I was like, man, you're prescribing the right medicine right there at NuriMuhammad.com. That right there at NuriMuhammad.com. Now, Brother Nuri, I don't want to keep you all night, but I do have just a few more questions. I do want to ask you. I want to backtrack a bit. You spoke about. Well, I wanted to ask you about interracial relationships. We're talking about black love. We're talking about black marriages. We're talking about black, being together, black relationships. But there is an influx of interracial relationships that take place within, particularly for the black man. Let's call the brothers out, because it's really happening. Sisters happen, but it's really the brothers. What do you think? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I'm more of an advocate of, I feel like black men should devote themselves to black women, but I don't judge the guys that do otherwise. But what are kind of your thoughts on the interracial relationship thing?
Well, we don't believe in it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was taught by God that, and common sense tells us, anytime that you are with someone that you call your spouse, you call them your mate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go in your closet and pick up a red Reebok. Go in your closet and pick up a pair of white Air Force Ones. Go in your closet and pick up some Concord 11s. If you have one Concord 11 in your hand and you go to the closet, or somebody goes to the closet and comes back out with a red Air Force One, say, here you go. You say, no, this ain't the mate that goes to this shoe. Why? Because it doesn't look like. It has to be the counterpart of. It has to be the match to. It has to be the mate of. So that should be a criterion in mate selection. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did say this, though. He said, love can transcend color. He said, however, the problem with us is that we did not choose a white woman instead of a black woman out of love. We chose it out of a sickness where we feel closer to our slave master, therefore we feel successful. We actually believe, and you look back, and as we gave the example of in the beginning, why was it easier for us to stay married to a black woman, or a black woman to a black man? And it's because they wouldn't allow us to even look at a white woman's dress while it hung on a clothesline, let alone be, looking at a white woman or being in a relationship. You can get lynched for reckless eyeballing. Well, look at what happened to us. Do you know that Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the early 1900s was not the only place in America where there was independent black economics operating. There was Rosewood. There was other places.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we had our own dry cleaners, banks, grocery stores, bus lines, hotels, restaurants, is because white people would not let us in theirs. So because they would not let us in theirs, because of segregation, we
Mm-hmm.
were forced to build for our own, and we didn't just survive, we thrived
Mm-hmm.
doing for self. But the minute that Negroes start going into the sitting at the bar stools and getting spit in their food, rate, water hose, and beat, I want to sit on the toilet next to white people. I want to get drunk next to white people. I want to sleep in a little nasty hotel room next to some nasty white people. The minute that they said, all right, you niggers can now start eating with us, coming to our movie theaters. You can start going to our cleaners, our grocery stores, and sleep in our hotels and ride on our buses. Guess what happened? Our
Auto
hotels busted. All the black
disappeared.
businesses went away.
Disappeared.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so integration with white people meant disintegration of black power in the sense of economics. Turn that into this whenever you have black men running with another woman. Integration ends up becoming disintegration of the power base of black people, which is the black family. So it is not that love can't transcend color, but what made you like them enough to choose them over someone that looks like you and came from the same life experience? I said, and even if you don't want to get into the Quran or the Bible in the story of Samson and Delilah, your mama's a black woman. How are you going to watch her suffer and struggle all those years trying to do for you, and then you want to pick somebody that looks opposite of her? Brother Jeff, the black woman has been the most loyal woman to her man more than any other woman of any other nationality, race, or group of people on the face of this earth. She deserves to be maintained, protected, and provided for. We owe her a debt to look out for her and make sure we take care of her like she's been taking care of us all of these years. So that system of doing it, and I'm saying that if you have already made a commitment to someone, I'm not telling anyone, and we don't promote that from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If you made marriage vows, we're not going to tell you just go get a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
No, if you've already committed, then you should honor your vows. But I will say that in order for you to reach your full potential as a black man, you're going to need that precious black woman with you to help bring out the best in you where you can reach your full potential.
Wow. Once again, this is why we had Brother Nuri Muhammad on. He drops the gems. He gives the facts. This is what we love to hear. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button and share this video. This needs to be seen by as many people as possible because we love what the student minister, Brother Nuri Muhammad, is saying right now. You're giving a sermon. I feel like I'm in church right now. So I see what the good folks in Indianapolis, Mosque number 74, correct?
Yes,
Mosque number 74. I see what they get each and every week, each and every day, because this is amazing. Now, Brother Nuri, I'm going to get you out on this. I want to say, now, during your keynote, you spoke about how black men and black women want to be loved differently. I'm not going to tell you to give that whole 45-minute speech. If you want to go see that, we have that at allblackdigital.com. That's allblackdigital.com. But what, just if you can, just summarize that just a bit about how black men and black women love to be loved or respected or loved in different ways. Just kind of, if you can, just I know it's gonna be hard, but just kind of summarize that in a bit. We don't have to get the whole acronym, but just a little how they like to be loved and respected in different ways.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, I learned this from the minister once. There is gender specific commands from God on how a black man can get the best out of his woman and how the woman can get the best out of her man. And even though we are two twin halves of a single essence, as the Quran says. We are different in the way that we receive and the way we are communicated with when it comes to love. You have some people that wrote a book, they call it the 4 love languages. I don't know how accurate that is, but I know that in Ephesians 5:33, there's a verse that says this: and men should love their wives as they love themselves, and women should respect their husbands. I said, wait a minute. Why did it say love when man to woman, but respect from woman to man? As you heard me say earlier, the language of a man is honor. So we, in that message called How to Love a Black Woman and How to Love a Black Man, we went through what it means to love and what it means to respect. So in the context of love, they did a study in 2012 on the Today Show where they interviewed women all over the world to find out what is it that they were looking for in a man. Different groups of people, different nationalities all over the earth. And they kind of consolidated it into 4 basic ingredients that all women were looking for in their men. And 1 was loyalty. 2 was to love. 3 was to labor, meaning they wanted a hardworking man. 4 was to listen. So loyal, and you know that as a general rule, women are one man, one women, but men have not been one woman men. So they were looking for somebody that, as Kendrick Lamar and Rihanna said, had some loyalty. And then they wanted someone that would love them, labor for them, and listen to them. And the 5th thing that they said was laughter, had a sense of humor, made them laugh. And we added to it. You can't just be no good man to a woman if you know how to listen, make her laugh, you labor, and you know how to love, and you loyal. The minister said this. He said, an ignorant man will never be a good husband to a woman. So you also have to be a learned man. You got to be learned. You got to be smart. Too. So that kind of a breakdown is what makes love from a man to a woman bring out the best in her. And then respect. We took respect and broke it down into an acronym. And the acronym is when every letter in a word represents another word, like CIA, the Cocaine Import Agency, and FBI, find a black man to incarcerate, media most effective devil in America. You understand what I'm saying? Respect. So the R, we're not going to break it all down, but R stands for respect itself. Show honor to your man. Respect him. Show him that you have a sense of dignity in looking up to and you admire him. E stands for esteem. And esteem is a little different than worth. When someone has self-worth, that means what they think about themselves based off of what God said about them and what they see in the mirror. But self-esteem is what you think about yourself based off of how other people see you. So if you're going to esteem a man, you have to show him honor and respect in front of people that he honors and respect. And then the S, we broke it down as it stood for his sight. Stay beautiful. Smile at that man. Let him know that you're happy. If hopefully you are happy, because if you're not happy, I'm gonna say this to the brothers: the goodness and the greatness of a man is heavily determined by the size of the smile of the woman that's with him's face. If you want to know how good you're doing and how great you are as a man, look at the size of the smile of your woman. If she ain't smiling that much, you ain't doing too good. Then of course, sensual touch. Men are more physical than women. So you have to be, as a woman, you have to know that he's more physical and give him more sensual touch. And then the P stands for, I believe we broke it down to represent power, or show him that he's powerful, or that you are proud of him. Honor him, compliment him. And then, of course, the other E is eating. What food do you feed him? You don't want to just be as a wife. You don't want to just be a cook. You don't even want to just be a chef. You want to be a food scientist that knows how to study what his purpose for living is and what kind of energy output is required for him to perform successfully at what he does to make a living for you or your family. And then you figure out the balance of carbohydrates, protein, and amino acid. What fruits and vegetables go well together that give him the strength and keep his health up so that he can eat good at 6 o'clock on Wednesday and wake up early on Thursday ready to go conquer the world for you. So eat. And then the last is C, show compassion to that man. Men are more sensitive than they act to be. Be kind, be compassionate to him, speak to him in a kind way, and show him that you care. And last, the T, train your children to love their father. Train your children to know that what the father is out there doing. Because, as a general rule, Brother Jeff, children don't spell love, Love. Children spell love, Time. So what they deem as love is spending time with them. But when a black man in this world is trying to survive, normally we got to work so hard that we don't have a lot of that Time. But if you've got a wife that would train the children to love their father and let them know daddy's not here, but he's out there putting in work to make sure that you have that coat, that you have those shoes on your feet, that we have something to sit down on, that we have a warm home and we have food in the refrigerator. That's his love for you. So when he comes home, soon as you hear them keys jingle, that door open, you run to that door and you jump on your father, tell him how much you love him and that you missed him. So that's kind of a simple little formula to love her and her respect him. And if we follow that little simple template 7 days a week, 365 days in a year, we would be back at 90% of all adults married again with a near 100% success ratio, staying together. Good black man with a good black woman, building a future for our people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Those who are listening, please give Brother Nuri Muhammad a digital round of applause. Brother Nuri Muhammad, you were a blessing to all of us tonight. We appreciate you coming through. You can connect with Brother Nuri Muhammad. They got him banned on some social media, some shadow banning going on, which is super garbage, but you can understand why. You can understand why, because if we had 1 million or 10 million or 100 million Brother Nuri Muhammad's in this world, our community would be a better place. You can connect with Brother Nuri Muhammad right here at NuriMuhammad.com. That is NuriMuhammad.com. Thank you all for tuning in. Brother Nuri, I want to say on camera, thank you so much. This was an honor to share this space with you tonight. I appreciate it so much.
Man, thank you, Brother Jeff. And I look forward to coming back and being with you again. And I just challenge you to field the questions that come from the audience. And then in a few weeks, come back.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Take questions that came from the people as a result of what they might have heard today. And no questions, off limits. And let's have that raw conversation so we can get our power base back.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. For those who want to, you can send your questions to Brother Nuri right here at his website, or to me right here on Instagram. That is at JLightsy7. That is at JLightsy7 on Instagram and Twitter. I appreciate you once again, Brother Nuri. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, and we will see you next time. God bless. Peace.